I created this quick PowerPoint today to help those in the group, the middle school and high school moms who are trying to wrap their mind around how to name high school courses easily. There's not a right or wrong, but there are some guidelines. So my name is Tina Robertson. My site is Tina's Dynamic Homeschool Plus. My Facebook group is How to Homeschool Easy. And my private group on Facebook is Homeschool Dynamics. But the question that I want to answer today, like I explained, is how to name courses easily. So let's get into this. So the first step, because I've broken this process down into steps. I'm a visual person, and I like to teach visually. I like to show you what goes on in my mind and put it down here in steps for you. So the first thing to know when you're getting ready to create course descriptions that go on the high school transcript is to keep all records that your teen has, all the activities that he or she will be doing over the next few years. It can be just a really simple system. When I started with my first high school teen, I wasn't quite sure what I was doing. So I kept part of it in a tote, if you will, like one of those storage containers with the clear plastic lid. And the other thing I did was I also shared a document with my son where we both could type on it. And in addition, I also wrote in a journal. So like 3 different ways I would have information coming in. So I would keep the catalog, I would keep the name of the book, I would keep awards, I would even keep a ticket, like if you went to a theater or a play. I kept everything there to prove what we were doing over the next few years. So from there, I'm going to show you how to streamline that and bundle that into a course description. So let's go on to the step 2 then. Know that there are 2 types basically of course descriptions. You can be generic or you can be creative. Like I explained, it's not really a right or wrong. I did read early in my homeschool course that it's kind of like art and science when you're doing these courses, and I do believe I agree with that. It kind of has an artsy flair if you want it, but also there's some kind of guidelines and steps that you kind of want to adhere to. So the 2 types really are generic and creative, and I will share some examples in just a few minutes. So the most important thing now to remember about these course descriptions is that you're using them to submit to the college. And so really it's the college's definition of what is a course. So step 3 is how colleges define a course name. And I have these 3 boxes here. Normally it's multiple paragraphs. And when it's multiple paragraphs, that means that doesn't go on the transcript. So the course is a separate page, really actually pages, because each course can be multiple paragraphs. You can include topics that were covered in that subject, what approach your student used, the credit that was earned, and also the grading system. And you can explain how rigorous it was. For example, fill in the blank. Most teachers would obviously say, well, that's easy. But if you have a special needs child, you are adjusting the curriculum to their needs, so you may use fill in the blank. And then there's life experiences, there's apprenticeship. So how are you grading your teen on this particular topic? So you can see that it takes several steps to be able to do this. Okay, so let's go on to step 4. How detailed do you need to be? Well, my experience has been that your path really determines it. Like I explained earlier, course descriptions are for colleges. They need to know what your teen is interested in. They want to see, their passions, what drew them to that particular subject. Now, when it comes to careers, mostly we just need the 1-page transcript. So you can see now that course descriptions do not go on the transcript. They're attached to it, And you can produce it if it's needed, because not all colleges will need a course description. And so that's really where you need to check. For example, some colleges will say, well, give me what your syllabus was. Because sometimes some colleges, believe it or not all of them, but there's still quite a few that are not sure what to ask for from a homeschooler who wants to enter college. So they'll just use these generic terms, and it's kind of up to you to decide what they're asking. And most of the time, they'll use the word syllabus. Sometimes they'll use course description. So you want to find on the website what it is that they're asking of you. But these course descriptions are fantastic for filling those needs. So just remember, I'm going to switch gears here and talk just a little bit about the transcript, because they overlap then with the course descriptions. So the transcript, which is a one-page document, it just reminds us how that the transcript fits our homeschool journey. The titles, the courses that go in there, they fit our journey. We're not trying to fit into a mold. We're trying to show or demonstrate on this one-page document in a framework, a grid, if you will, what our teen did in high school. That's where we keep it simple and not wordy, but it can still be creative. I'm going to show you that in a few minutes too. Okay, so let's move on then to this next step. So we're going to talk just a little bit about transcripts, because I don't want you to get confused. I'm going to flip-flop now between them because they're intertwined. So just remember, a course name or a course is not the transcript. A course name goes on the transcript. The primary purpose of a transcript is for college. And another point I want you to remember is you don't have to produce a transcript until your student is a senior. Now, unless they're going to go for scholarships, then you will need those course descriptions most of the time. But again, the college will let you know what they want from you. But it's been my experience that if they want a course description and you start applying for scholarships early, that they'll even want a course description for things that are not completed yet. So you can say, we'll complete in fall or spring of, whatever year it is. And so that's what you want to do. You want to put on the courses that your teen has not done yet. You want to show that this is what your path will be for your teen. So remember, transcripts are the one-page document. It's a very simple framework. It lists the course names, it has grades, credits, and the final grade point average. That is not the place to be wordy. That is the place to get everything on one page so that it looks like other transcripts that colleges get. And then again, the course description, which could be 5, 10, 15. I've seen some that are 20 pages long that are attached to the transcript if they're asked for. So here we are now on step 5. Attach your course description to the transcript if your teen is college bound or if the college asks for it. So if a college never asks for it, you have the course description separate. I just kept my course description separate. I kept them with me, that if ever on a moment's notice my teen would need to produce them, then we had it to add to the transcript. Okay, so here's the next step. Step 6. Keep the language in a transcript simple. In other words, what I mean by that is stay within what colleges know as education terminology. We don't have to get any more complicated. We do not want the evaluators guessing, what did you mean by using all these words and they weren't sure what you meant. And it doesn't sound, what's the word I'm looking for? I like a lot of homeschoolers, they'll tell me, well, my teen really doesn't stand out. Well, yes, your teen will stand out from the courses that are taken because your course titles can still be creative. And then, of course, the activities that were done and the grades. But that's not the place on the transcript to show everything The course descriptions that are separate shows the breadth, the height, the width then of what your teen learns. That's where you do the creative part. Now, on this page here, look at these examples. I want to show you, these are both course titles. I want to show you how you can be creative if you want to be, or generic. So English can be called several different things. You can say English 9 for 9th grade, and then of course do English 10, English 11, English 12. You can say English 1. You can just say English. You can do language arts 9, language arts 10, or language arts 1, language arts 2, 3, 4, biology, chemistry. One year we did integrated science of chemistry and physics, so I added that. Then here we have Algebra 1, Geometry, and Algebra 2, which is the normal high school path. So we can keep them generic. Now, if you'll see on the right side, instead of having math or algebra, or say even for a senior year, look at some of these more creative titles. Foundations of Money Education, or Life Sciences Study Abroad. What a fantastic title. That really invokes curiosity. How about Weather Forecasting Laboratory? That's a perfect science slant for someone that is a science person right away. It's not just, life science or biology, but it is life sciences. And not only that, it's studying abroad. And the weather forecasting the same way. How about Paris, the City of Lights? Lumiere. I never was good at French. But isn't that fantastic to study about that, about lights? The World of the Medici. We love studying about the Italian family. Of course, that could fall under a history, a social studies. Instead of using that, you could say the World of the Medici 9, World of the Medici 1. I would probably do 9 because I wouldn't think that we would probably study just about that family all 4 years, but I would add 9 on the end of it to show it was for the freshman year, 9th grade. Okay, so here is where the creative part that I'm talking about. You can be generic or you can be creative, but they're very specific, they're short, they don't go on and on and on like a description would. Okay, so let me show you a description. So here's an outline for a sample course description. Now, here are my tips. From where do we get this verbiage? Well, what I've managed to do through the years, and I learned, was I used the college catalogs. I would just look at their course descriptions for the different creative courses they had, and they give a description of what will be covered in the course. It's fantastic when it helps to get your creative juices flowing. Also, I've used the curriculum provider description. I've saved it in my records. That's why I was telling you earlier, save the catalog or copy and paste, put it somewhere, because sometimes this curriculum goes away after 3 or 4 or 5 years when you actually need to produce the transcript. So I saved the catalog that had the course description. Easy peasy. I just put down what the course description was, and I had that on a separate piece of paper. Another thing is to check the front of the resource or the book that you're using. Some textbooks tout right there in the front, this is what your teen will do or will learn in this course. It's that easy. So there are several different ways that you can get your creative juices flowing. Okay, here is the outline basically for a sample course description. Now, I tried to make it as broad as I could so you could see to cover these different parts. That's why I was saying it can be multiple paragraphs. And usually I start off with the title of the book. Now, sometimes at the beginning of the course description, I would add year, date, instructor name. I would kind of take the bottom part there and put it at the top where it says grade, credit, instructor, and put it at the top of my course description because it's kind of like a little header. I didn't do that in the beginning because I didn't know. But as I went along and learned, I thought, oh, that looks fantastic. So I would put the grade and, of course, the credit instructor. But the reason I didn't do that at the beginning is because when I was writing course descriptions, he didn't have all of them completed that I had wrote for 10th and 11th and 12th grade. So I had put it at the bottom. So for starting off with a freshman, then this is why I put that part down at the bottom of this outline. So you would list the title of the book or the spine that you're using. Spine means whatever resource is your resource that you're using to teach your child with. It could be a DVD. It could be a book. It could be a map. It could be a primary resource from history, like a letter, a diary. See, there's so many different things that could be your spine and especially when you want to do delight-directed learning, when you want to choose your own courses, then this is what you could follow this outline. You put the title there, then you list the topics you covered. Now, here's the hint. If it's a book, those chapters will help you well with the topics that you covered. If you're doing weather, then you just go right down through, say we had a laboratory, we studied tornadoes, and you would just use whatever it is that they had inside the book. The same way with either a movie or a letter, you might have to choose. Some things we did, I had to pick out points that we learned in it and then go over them with my teen, and they were my subtopics. And then next thing that you want to explain, or what are the course requirements, or this course includes, and I just give you some examples right there. You can say this course will include these vocabulary words, test. My teen will have a hands-on activity like this. He will build a model. He will cook this. There will be a lab. There will be an apprenticeship. He or she will study abroad for X number of months. So you would just go on to describe everything that you're going to expect in the course requirement. And then the next part down there, you see it says method of evaluation. So how will you evaluate this course? They want to know, how are you going to grade it? Well, I always start off by saying attendance in class, because I expect my teen to show up. So that was always a given for me, attendance in class. And sometimes it'll be the final projects. It may be journaling. If it was a drama class, then I put down there, I believe, would attend so many plays. If it was music, would attend a ballet, a variety of genre and music. So there would be methods that, I would say, okay, this would be 10%, this would be 40%, and this would be 50%. And of course, writing, journaling, recording, preparing PowerPoints, whatever the subject is, that's where you want to brainstorm, how can my student prove mastery? And when they can prove mastery, then that's your method of evaluation. So anyway, so I hope this helps some, because you can see where then at the end I had put the grade, the credit, the instructor, and the date of application, because like I said earlier, I moved that up to the top when I was writing these descriptions and made that kind of like a header. But what I wanted to do is just give you this backbone, this outline, so you could use this as a sample for writing something that you wanted to write if you needed it. Because remember, course descriptions really basically are for colleges. And a lot of homeschoolers have never been called on to produce their course descriptions, and others have been called on to produce their course descriptions. Okay, so here's our roadmap to sum this up. So the step 1, you want to keep all the records, catalogs, the course descriptions, the names of the book, pictures, papers, everything. And then the step 2, think back. Do you want to use general titles, or do you want to use a little more creative titles that spark a little bit of interest? Both of them, you can have art, science. I do believe that naming courses, is like that, part art and part science. So you decide if you want to be creative or general. Like when it was my first one, all I could think of was Algebra 1 instead of putting like financial planning or something else like that in there for him. Then step 3 is remember the definition of what is a course description. Those multi-paragraph and pages are not part of the transcript. They're attached. They're separate. They're given only if they're needed. You can use those creative or general course titles on the one-page transcript. And then also, for step 4, is it going to be detailed or not? There's not really just any right or wrong. When colleges ask to see them, they want to know who your teen is and what they're doing. You can be as detailed as you want to or not. I tend to be very detailed on what my plans are. But some homeschool moms are not. They have one little paragraph and they're done, and that's perfectly fine. They have something backing up what the course is about. Even one paragraph is fine. So then step 5, remember to attach the course descriptions if you need it, but you may not ever be called upon to produce course descriptions. It's more important to think about the 2 type of titles that go on the transcript, whether you want to use a general or a creative one. And remember, you do not produce a transcript at freshman. You produce it at a senior year. You have 4 years to collect all of that, decide, work on your course descriptions. It really is fun to do, and it's not as hard as a lot of people make it sound like. You've got a lot of time to do it. And then the 6th step is, remember, use normal educational terms when you're writing these course descriptions on the transcript. When you're writing these titles, of the course descriptions. Don't use so far out language that colleges don't even know what that is. You want to use some of the rule of thumb, the normal educational terms that these colleges are used to seeing. You don't want it to be so far out there they don't even understand what you meant by it. That is it science? Is it math? Is it language arts? What is this? So you want to remember to use those normal educational terms that you can. Okay, I look forward to your questions in the group. If you have them, please post them. I hope this was easy to understand. And again, if you have any questions, just let me know.